Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Ashley with Evans Behavioral Services. We are continuing on our BCBA task list study prep series here. Today we are continuing section section A-5, which are the dimensions of ABA. So there are 7 dimensions of ABA, which essentially provide guidelines to evaluate the quality of services. So ABA services should include generality, effective, technological, applied, conceptually systematic, analytic, and behavioral. To remember, there is an acronym, get a cab. So as we try to remember each of these, keep in mind this acronym, get a cab. It'll help to remember all 7 of those. So the first one, generality. Generality refers to behavior change that lasts across time with new stimuli, different people, new environments. So when we first teach skills, we often do it in more of like a structured environment, more of like a clinical type presentation of the instruction. And then we generalize it to other people, settings, different stimuli to make sure that the learner really has the skill down pat and can do it in more than just, a structured teaching environment. So one example of this, you teach your client how to tie shoes with like a lace board at a table. If that skill doesn't generalize to actually tying their real shoe, then there isn't much benefit to just learning how to tie on the lace board. So we want to make sure that we are programming for generalization so that your learner does generalize those skills. Next, we've got E, effective. So behavior change procedures should produce a significant level of change in behavior. So if your learner would have made the same level of progress had you not intervened, then that would not qualify as effective. So we want to make sure that we're really producing socially significant levels of change in behavior. So for example, you conduct an FBA with a client's on a client's aggression behaviors. You determine the function to be attention. You implement an individualized BIP, which includes teaching a replacement behavior to gain others' attention that way. The data tells you that there was an 80% reduction in aggressions and an increase in the replacement behavior. This demonstrates that your intervention procedure was effective. It produced a significant level of change. T, technological. Technological refers to intervention procedures, data, results, needing to be clearly outlined in enough detail that they can be clearly understood and replicated. So for example, you're introducing a skill acquisition manding program. You want to make sure that you have the procedure written up with enough clear, concise descriptions, with examples, non-examples, etc., so that each member on the client's team are able to read it and understand, what is being asked of them and expected of them, how to conduct this program. So you want to make sure that everyone on the team is able to replicate those instructions, essentially. Moving on to A. So there are 2 A's in get a cab in our 7 dimensions. Whichever way you remember them is fine. I have the first A as applied. So applied is essentially taking all of the research we know on behavioral principles that were conducted in an experimental setting and applying them to the real world. So the behaviors should be targeted. The behaviors targeted should be socially significant, resulting in meaningful change to the learner's quality of living. So when we're looking at social significance first should be to the learner. So what is significant to them? What is important for them to learn? What will help them develop more skills, more independence, and then also considering social significance for stakeholders, so caregivers, other like parents, family members, other providers, and then looking at the social significance to the general society. So first and foremost, though, we look at the significance to the individual. So for example, teaching a child safety instructions is considered socially significant. Being able to follow those instructions is going to keep that child safe out in the community. So it benefits the child, it benefits stakeholders and society as a whole. C, conceptually systematic. This means that interventions are consistent with behavioral principles. For example, using positive reinforcement, shaping, differential reinforcement, chaining, those are all behavioral principles that would qualify under conceptually systematic. All right, the other A is analytics. So demonstrating a functional relation between what changed in the environment and the behavior of focus. We make all decisions based on data. So modifications are made based on data analysis, or if it's determined based on the data that we don't need to make modifications, we always let the data lead. So for example, you introduce a DRA with a learner who engages in aggressions, which you find to be maintained by access to tangibles. The data shows that reinforcing an alternative behavior of manding for those tangibles via vocal approximations results in a decrease in aggressions. Following this data analysis, you determine that you're going to continue with the intervention without modification. You analyzed the data and made the decision to continue the intervention, all based on that data showing functional relation. And then the last one, the last of our 7 dimensions is behavioral. So behaviors of focus, behaviors that we're targeting must be observable and measurable. So of course we know based on radical behaviorism, thinking is a behavior, but we're not going to target a behavior, a covert behavior. We're not going to target thinking, as we cannot observe and measure another person's thoughts. So we would want to make sure that all behaviors that we are targeting can be observable and measurable. So that's all 7 dimensions. Let's move into a question to see how you are doing with these 7 dimensions of behavior. The technological dimension in ABA refers to A, using technology, including online platforms and apps to enhance learning. B, defining procedures clearly with enough information so that it may be replicated. C, using technology to analyze behavior. Or D, interventions are consistent with behavioral principles. All right, so let's go through elimination here. The first one I'm going to eliminate right off the bat is using technology, including online platforms and apps to enhance learning. So we know that the technological dimension in ABA isn't looking at technology as in like online platforms, apps, devices. That's not what the technological dimension refers to. So similarly, we'll go ahead and get rid of C for the same reason, using technology to analyze behavior. And then let's see, the last one we're going to get rid of is D, because interventions consistent with behavioral principles is conceptually systematic, not technological. So that leaves us with B, defining procedures clearly with enough information so that it may be replicated is the technological dimension in ABA. That is all for today. I appreciate you guys watching. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Feel free to check out evansbehavioralservices.com for more resources. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you.